and courtesies, who you need to talk to. They want to teach you a chain of command. So you're not jumping to the highest ranking person. You're going through your next leader, and those people get put in those positions for a reason in most cases. Sometimes you agree with it, sometimes you don't.
In our
But
case,
it
I rarely do.
in our case, and when we were stationed together in Fort Carson, there was a lot of promotions that a lot of people didn't agree with. But at the end of the day, I mean, they made it there for a reason, and you do have to respect that rank. You may not respect that person, but you need to respect
Oh
that
yeah,
rank.
100%, 100%. I mean, there's a reason
And
why I was a favorite.
yeah, yeah, you were. I don't know how, but
I don't either. I don't either. I mean, everybody I associated myself with, they absolutely hated. I don't know what the heck happened, but
yeah, that was after that was quite a few years after basic training, and so once you're out of basic training for a while, you kind of figure out different ways to conduct yourself. You get more confidence in your job and your abilities, and when people do that, they see it. Some dog trainers, and I was guilty of this at the towards the end, they get very confident with their ability to train, and so then they start to believe, okay, well, I know this works because I've done this a few times, and that may not be what's best for that situation, that soldier or that dog. And so there's also a lot of growth that happens after basic, and the fact of you don't know everything. Doesn't matter if you outrank them, but you should still, you know, listen to your soldiers and listen to the people around you to find better avenues on how to conduct yourself and how to become a better asset to the Army.
absolutely.
But
Well, since we're now after basic anyways, I want to go into your time at Korea. I know
yes.
I just mentioned that you were stationed somewhere else. Obviously, that was your first duty station, and you were telling me a story about how when you first got there. I'm going to let you continue from there, but
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the sergeants you had at Korea, how your time was at Korea, and why Korea is a duty station.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever I first showed up so right after AIT, I got my orders to go to South Korea. That was going to be my first duty station. It's a year-long duty station. They do count it as a deployment, but it's not like a deployment, in the Middle East where you're seeing combat, things like that. But it is a year-long duty station. You can make it a 2-year if you bring your family with you. By that, you have to be married. If you don't, they don't like to keep you there unless you have a family. So they do kind of take that into consideration. But so whenever I first showed up, you go through, anytime you go anywhere, you go through, usually it's a week to 2 weeks of in processing. And it's really just getting paperwork in order, talking to the people that are there. They tell you what all is available on the base, things like that. And it kind of gives you time to get used to where you're going to be. So whenever I showed up, they actually lost my paperwork, and so they had to restart it all while I was there. I was in processing still for only about a week, but I went through in processing in Yongsan, which is in Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea. That's where everybody goes. I think now it's at Camp Humphreys. But sorry, I got my dogs playing right here. Go lay down. Lots. And so, yeah, I had to kind of run around and get a lot of this paperwork in order myself and get it ready. And I'm a brand new soldier at this point, fresh out of basic. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I show up after the in processing part to go meet my unit. Well, my unit had no idea that I was coming. And so at this point, I took a taxi down to Camp Humphreys, where my unit was, and they had no idea that I was showing up. I had to go and talk to the MPs. Yes, we are MPs, but we're dog handlers, and so we're in our own separate detachment. And so then I meet them and say it was a very old Army place. A lot of the of the soldiers there were very traditional,
Mhm.
and that they when you get there, I mean, you're getting, people call it hazed, um, but basically you're let they let you know that you haven't done anything yet.
Mhm.
You have to earn everything that you get at this point. Um, yeah, you passed basic training and AIT and all that. I mean, I did very well in AIT. I got top dog honors. Um, and but that doesn't follow you there. Honestly, it kind of makes it harder on you because they see that and then they go, okay, so this guy thinks that he's he's top dog material. He thinks he's, the shit that's coming in. And so I can't tell you how long I was there, and I was just sweeping the parking lot, which was gravel. Makes no sense. They just waste your time. They get you a dog. I picked up a dog named Byra, who was a Malinois, 2-year-old Malinois. I had never trained a dog before. And they said, okay, go figure it out. And so Byra was a bomb dog. So she was a PED. She was a patrol explosive detection dog. So dual purpose. And pretty much just said, go figure it out. And by the way, you got certification in 3 weeks. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh crap! And if you fail too, I know they kick you out.
Yeah.
So
So
it
if
put a
you
little bit of
fail,
stress on you.
so you've got, I think that they capped it at, like, if you fail three certifications, then you're out. You're not K9. They're going to send you down to be a regular MP, or if that's not open, they'll find a job for you. And so obviously I wanted to be K9, so that was very stressful to do that. I had never trained a dog before. So I was kind of just lost. And then plus you're meeting people that outrank you a lot. So working this dog a little bit, getting frustrated because she's not doing what I want her to do. Got certification coming up. Well, come to certification, that rolls around. I actually failed my first certification. Missed. Well, it was kind of controversial at the time too, because there is a lot of politics that goes on in the military. The CERT authority was brand new to Korea. It was Master Sergeant Lavalle.
I remember her.
I'll never forget her. I could not stand her. And she failed me because my dog brushed with her nose a little bit of the dirt off on top of one of the explosive training aids. And she called that an aggressive response.
So with aggressive response, just so my professor knows and anybody else who's watching knows, is typically when the dog will, sometimes they'll say barking is because it can lead to but like they're not being aggressive towards the odor, but sometimes they can. But when I think of aggressive response, I think of pawing at it,
digging at it,
because obviously if there's pressure plates there, that's not good. So that if there's an aggressive response, they typically say that you immediately failed because at that point in time, they don't want to go overseas, have an aggressive response, and then it blown up an entire unit. So,
which I agree with. You don't want a
is
dog that's aggressive.
Nose is not enough.
Yeah, and that's where kind of some of the politics comes in. Is yes, so the aggressive response, my dog did not do aggressive response on that. She came in and she told our kennel master this, that she was just going to fail everybody, because she thought the certifications were too easy in Korea. And so she wanted to make a statement. So she failed everybody. Everybody in Korea failed. At that point, you're all decertified. Nobody's working the road.
Do you think that should be something to where like you make it everybody pass so that way they will make it harder? Not I'm going to fail everybody to make it harder. Like if they're failing already, they're not going to make it hard.
Yeah. So she's saying what her thought process was, and it doesn't make any sense because now there's no dogs working the road. There's no dogs that can respond to anything. If there is a call that needs, if there isn't a bomb threat or something like that, there is no dog that can go to it. So it doesn't make any sense other than the fact of she just wanted to say the previous CERT authority was way too relaxed and didn't do his job properly. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to inherit a bad situation and then start passing everybody, showing that I'm making these changes, not anybody else. Was her thought process.
Okay, so just try to make her look good.
Yeah. So after I failed that certification, I'm super bummed about it. And then, so at that point, I'm still being treated like crap because, I haven't passed the certification. Not only, beforehand, it was, I never had an opportunity to go to a certification, but now I've failed one. So now they're like, the kennel master understood. He's like, hey, look, nobody passed. There's guys that have been in for years that failed. But you're not truly counted as a dog handler until you pass your first certification.
Right.
And so I'm still doing the, sweeping the parking lot. I'm still doing all the cleaning of the kennels, the GI stuff all by myself. Doing all the, call it bitch work. So I'm still doing all that by myself. And then not only that, but I also get switched onto a narcotics dog. And so I get switched on the dog, and one of my mentors in the dog training community, I actually hated him at first.
This is Heinz.
Because this is Heinzig. Yep.
Okay.
So Mike Heinzig, he was super hard on me whenever I first got there. But then after that whole certification thing, they go, okay, hey, you're going to pick up this dog. Her name was Kelly. She was a Belgian Malinois, German Shepherd mix. She was a 6-year-old dog, but she was an aggressive one. She loved to do bite work. And so Heinzig kind of at that point in time was like, all right, now you got my dog. And if you fail my dog, that makes him look bad. So it was like, we're not gonna let that happen. So then he starts doing training with me, really showing me how to do stuff. And then go through another certification a couple weeks later. And because they needed dogs that were certified and teams to work the road and things like that. So held another certification. We passed it 100%. Went through, and then they do a little ceremony in the kennels when you pass your first certification. And we kind of did something similar to you when you passed yours.
I know. Oh my gosh. That's where you got it from.
Yep.
Okay.
And so what had happened after I had passed, and you get no notice that this is coming, but they kind of haze you a little bit and give you a ceremony that, welcome to Canine. You are now a handler. You're now a trainer. And so I'm cleaning the dog runs as per usual. I mean, I've been the only one doing it myself. And then I just see somebody walk in and they start scrubbing next to me. And they get the water hose and start spraying them down and stuff. And then a couple other people come in, and I'm like, what's going on? Because nobody else has helped me do these runs before. And then they lock me, they get the dog out, and then they lock me in the kennel itself and start spraying me down with the water hose and then tossing coffee and flour all over me. And like, it's cold water and you're just completely caught off guard. And that was the first part of this ceremony. And so now your uniform's ruined, but afterwards they say, hey, you're now a dog trainer. And then after that, you all go out for drinks, you have a good time. And at that point in time, you have to drink everything that is handed to you. If you don't, then they won't respect you because you did not partake.
That's the part that I had to do. I didn't have to do the flower and the dog.
No, the Army changed a little bit by then. Carson was a little bit different than
Sergeant Old.
Colorado. Yeah, so I'm having to drink literally every single drink that's handed to me. I puke so much. Could not tell you what happened that night.
I still don't drink much today because of that night.
Yeah.
But that's actually a good segue to the next topic because we have about 10 minutes left. I can make another meeting if I have to, which is no big deal. But it's going to go to the next one of like substance abuse. We've talked about drug addiction, for the U.S. Army whenever we went to Vietnam, the Russians whenever they were in Afghanistan. I believe we had a small, actually I have to say a pretty big one in Afghanistan as